Hi and welcome to yet another Division video. This time it will be a healer guide. But first I would like to thank all my subscribers, over 700 now. Thank you very much, and also I would like to apologize for my voice. It seems I always have to do these voiceovers when I'm sick, and yeah, I'm pretty exhausted, and also this video might be a bit boring, but I hope at least it's informative. But without further ado, let's get started. So let's get started with the stats. What stats should you go for? And you might be thinking stamina and electronics, duh. And yes, they are important, but you might not need as much as you think. Around 60 to 70k health is totally fine, as long as you can take a sniper shot and still throw off a heal. Around 35k skill power is totally fine as well, especially if you got the 4-set Tactician's Authority bonus. If you don't have that, you might want to pump up the skill power a bit further. But there are some stats that is just as important as stamina and electronics, and this is the order I would pick them in. First aid radius, skill haste, skill power, first aid ally heal, protection from elites. These stats can be found on gear and gear mods, and I would say that the absolute best mod that you can get is the prototype performance mod with 3% skill haste and 6.5% first aid radius. The reason why first aid radius is the most important stat is because it increases the size of your heal, making it a lot easier to heal your target. The most annoying thing as a healer in the division, except for the bugs, is when people don't take your heal or don't see it. You're wasting a heal that you could have thrown on someone else, and sometimes they also avoid it like it's green poison. So by increasing the size of the heal, you're also increasing the chances that the player will not be able to escape your heal before he has gotten its effect. Increasing the range of the first aid is pretty handy when double tapping it as well, since it will heal more people. Double tapping first aid is a lot faster, and it's very handy in Falcon Lost on challenge mode, as an example. Haste is a great stat, and it reduces the cooldown of your skills. I try to get as much haste as possible, and you can have more than 100%. Pretty much the best buff you can have is the support station with ammo cache. It gives you 50% additional skill haste, and that is a huge buff for a healer. The buff on the support station does not scale with skill power, so another member in the group can use it for you, and in return you can use something like smart cover, which do scale with skill power and increases the group's damage done and damage resistance by quite impressive amount. The bonus stat skill power explains itself. The more skill power, shorter CDs, more health healed, etc. Get as much skill power as possible, it's as simple as that. First aid ally heal is a great stat. What it does is that it heals everyone else but you more. And I always look for that on gear. However, if I have to choose between skill power and first aid ally heal, I would probably go with skill power. But on gear it's slightly higher, and it actually does quite a big difference. Since tanking is not yet viable, hopefully it will be fixed in the future, and when it is, first aid ally heal will be a lot more important. But right now you do not have to fill up 150k health bar. Instead you are fine if you heal those 60 to 70k. Protection from elite used to be the worst stat in the game, because it actually increased the damage that you took from elites, but now it's finally fixed and it's a great stat. If you don't have anything else to pick, do take protection from elites. Taking less damage is always welcome. So let's move on to gear choice. I've already gone through what stats to look for, so this will be rather short. If you don't have the 4-set bonus from Tactician's Authority, make sure that you have the 2 pieces that you can craft. You can get the gloves in Warrengate Power Plant on challenge mode. Then pump your skill power up as much as possible. After getting the 4-set bonus, your skill power will be less needed, because you will double the amount of skill power that you have within the first minute. Now it's not all about set items, which many seems to think. The best healer chest piece, as an example, is in fact a high-end item. Getting the perfect one is hard, and I don't see mine as perfect, but it needs to have the gear talent Vigorous. This is vital in this build. What it does is grants overhealing to all healing skills. Well, I've only found it to work on first aid, but on first aid it works amazingly well. You might have to craft a lot of pieces to get a 182 piece, or you might be lucky and find a good one. You could also check the special gear vendor for a weekly chance of a 204 gear score piece. As far as weapons go, it's more of a preference. I'd recommend Caduceus, but even though countless of hours farming, I have not been able to get it. Caduceus got the talent Cold-Headed, which reduces your skill cooldowns by 5.5% every time you do a headshot. However, it's kind of expensive as a healer with 1889 firearms required to activate the skill, so that might actually nerf your other stats. So I would recommend a good M1A sniper rifle because it's fast as a gun at close range and it deals a decent amount of damage even as a healer. So our first skill will be first aid, but instead of overdose we take booster shot. Booster shot does not normally overheal the target, but we solve that with our chest piece. It's also a little bit bigger by default, making it a bit easier to get up in size, and it also increases the damage and damage resistance to the targets affected by it. The second skill that I use the most is the support station with the ammo cache, and it's mainly because of the 50% skill haste buff, which is a huge buff for you. But it's also a small heal over time and an AoE heal if you blow it up. I like to have this myself so that I can control where it is, and you should always try to stay in its radius. When doing Falcon Lost on challenge mode, I do not use the support station. Instead I let another group member use it, and I use smart cover, which scales with skill power, and it gives a huge boost to everyone that sits next to the cover. It's also very easy to heal everyone at the cover. You usually just have to do a double tap on the first aid. The smart cover recharger mod gives 20% haste and a small heal. This does stack with the support station, so you will get a 70% skill haste buff if you have both. My first choice for signature skill would be Survival Link. When it looks bad, do not fear using it. You can easily heal up the group while it's active. But if no one in the group is using Recover Link, it could be a good option in case multiple people go down at the same time. Moving on to Talons, I'm going to go through all of these more in depth, but first let's have a look on what I use. These are what I have found working the best for me as a healer, but it's not set in stone, except for Triage. That's hands down the must-have talent. 1. Triage. Heal an ally with a skill to reduce skill cooldowns by 50%. 2. Battle Buddy. Revive a downed agent to reduce incoming damage by 50% for 10 seconds for both players. 3. Critical Save. Use a medikit during low health to increase damage resistance by 40% for 10 seconds. 4. Strike Back. Reach low health to reduce active skill cooldowns by 20%. I left out Combat Medic because I think it's rather useless. It heals nearby allies within 20 meters by 40% when you use a medikit. But you can't use a medikit when at full health, and as a healer you are almost always at more than full health. So while it does bring an additional heal, it's very situational, and even if the person with low health is sitting there right next to you, you still can't heal him because you can't use the medikit at full health. It's annoying, and that is why I do not use Combat Medic. The first choice is always Triage. It reduces skill cooldowns by 50% when you heal an ally. If you heal all 3 allies in the group, you will instantly get 45% shorter cooldown on your next heal. Battle Buddy is a very powerful talent. It looks useless to some, but it can be a bitch to rest someone in an incursion, especially with a nuke. Having this talent have made me and the person being rest surviving a nuke by the tank in Falcon Lost. It makes it a lot easier to rest someone successfully, and once again you do not want to go down as a healer. Once the person is up, you can heal the person without him or her risking to go down again by a random mob. Critical Save. The logic behind this one is that you only use medikits when you are on low health. 40% damage resistant in those situations is very welcome. Strike back is optional. Once again, the logic is that if I'm at low health, I sure as hell want to heal as fast as possible, and the faster it comes back off cooldown, the better. 20% might not be that much in that situation, but it's some. Survivability should be pretty good with the talents we have picked. You don't do much damage, but you can still melee hit a shotgunner as an example if it's next to you. That way it will stumble for a few seconds, and many times that's enough for your group to take it down. Anyway, I think that's it. If you like this video, leave me a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments. Do you want to see more Division videos like this one? Did I miss anything? I'd love to know. Thank you for watching and see you next time.